Namaste. I am Gloria Grace Rand, and I am delighted to be with you today and to have a guest with us on the show. Always one of my favorite days when we are able to do interviews with wonderful, interesting people. And I met the lovely Linda Bryce here a little while ago, and I'm going to tell you all about her in a moment. But first, I want to welcome Linda to Live, Love, Engage.
Hello, everyone. I celebrate each of you. I greet you with an open and a joyful heart. Hello, everyone. I celebrate each of you. I greet you with a joyful heart. And that's for all of you listening and for you, Gloria.
Well, thank you so much. And if you couldn't tell, Linda is always singing. This is part of what she does, and that was what we really connected on. And so let me tell you what she does. She leads a threshold choir and has sat at hundreds of bedsides singing, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute. She's also an award-winning author of The Courage to Care, Being Fully Present with the Dying, and she's a former teacher. And she also has a children's book called We're Never Far Apart, which follows the grief journey of a young girl whose best friend dies. And when we met, I just thought it was so very cool that you do this work where you are part of sort of the hospice type of setting, and that you wind up sitting at bedsides of folks who are either ill or possibly dying, and you can correct me on that. Um, and that you sing to them, and there's this amazing healing energy with song. So I want to know more about that. Well, actually, why don't you tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll go back in and talk about how you got into doing this type of work. So explain to our audience a little bit more about, what is a threshold choir, and what do you do?
Ah, okay, starting from there. Uh, Women in ancient times sang at bedsides, right? Women were the caretakers from birth through life, through illness, through dying, after death. And part of that was singing a cappella when individuals were ill and when they were dying. There is a saying, it's attributed to Anonymous, so I don't know from where it comes or for how long it's been around, but it's for words and depths, no, excuse me, for heights and depths no words can reach. Music is the soul's own speech.
Mm.
Music, the speech of our souls. Perhaps that's why music has such a profound influence on our bodies, on our minds, on our spirits. About 22 years ago, and this now I'm going to the modern or the more recent singing at bedsides. About 22 years ago, a woman named Kate was sitting in a hospital at the bedside of her friend who was dying. And her natural impulse was to begin singing.
Hmm.
She had a song, she sang it, she sang that song over and over and over. His restlessness diminished and stopped. He quieted down. He seemed more at peace than he had been. She thought about this and the response, that physically she could see in front of her eyes. And she said, why don't we do this? Why doesn't everybody do this at the bedside? So she initiated something called the Threshold Choir. And for your listeners who would like more information, Threshold Choir, all one word, thresholdchoir.org. So it was begun in California. There are now more than 200, 250 chapters across the country and in other parts of the world. In the United States, most of the chapters are still sort of to the west where it began. I'm out here in the east. But there was a woman who lived locally who would spend her winters in California, was introduced to Threshold Choir, brought the idea and the practice back here. And when I returned from sitting at the bedside of my dear aunt, I had driven from the middle of Pennsylvania up to Maine to be with her. I didn't ask, I just showed up because I love that aunt and I'm very close with her and with those cousins. When I came home, there was an ad in the paper. And
Of
it
course.
was looking for, yes, I know, right? Divine placement.
Yes, exactly. Always
looking
happens.
looking for singers for a newly forming threshold choir to sing to individuals at the thresholds of life. So that's how I came to it. And I must say that without knowing about bedside singing, it was also my natural impulse the night that Aunt Lee was very nearing death to just, after prayers and after reading scripture from her Bible and so forth, to just begin singing.
Mm.
We don't go as a big group. You think of the word choir, like,
Mm.
oh, we're going to have 20 voices coming to the bedside. No, one
No.
doesn't want to do that. And the person in the bed doesn't want to be overwhelmed with all of
No.
those people and that sound either. We typically sing in pairs, on occasion trios, but that's so we can have harmony.
Mm.
And that's what it is. We go where we are invited. Our gift, our song is our gift.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is amazing the power of music. And I was bringing to mind, I had seen a LinkedIn post of someone I'm connected with, and he was talking about his father, I think has Alzheimer's. And so for whatever reason, all of a sudden, I don't know that he was singing, but I think he decided to put on like old Motown songs. And they started going through all of these, and he was just so amazed at the difference it made in his dad, and just how he sort of came alive again, hearing these old songs. Uh, what do you know any, can you speak to maybe more about the power of music in that way, and how it really seems to, what is the expression, music soothes the savage beast, but I think it also, soothes us as well, right?
It does. I was listening to a TEDx talk, and I don't recall the gentleman who gave it, but who made the comment that music lights up more parts of our brain than absolutely anything else we experience.
Mm.
And I have heard and written about in my book, The Courage to Care, as well, about the effect of music on individuals. And yes, it's being used with individuals who have dementia. Alzheimer's is one type of dementia
Right.
that, and I've even seen it, that individuals who have just stopped talking, they aren't talking anymore, but you either put a headset on them or you begin to play music that's generational,
Right.
from their earlier years, or
Yeah.
something that's in their brain, that's from their experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's like music wakes them up,
Yeah.
and they begin singing along, maybe even tapping their toes or nodding their heads. And for some of them, even are able to then engage in some short conversations.
Mm.
There is an organization, here's another resource for folks, because I love offering resources. Alive Inside, if you haven't seen the music, it is all about this, especially music and its effect on individuals with dementia. Um, Music has also been helpful for stroke victims.
Mm.
That's been discovered. There's just so much. I have a whole page full of benefits physical benefits, emotional benefits, mental benefits in the book. Just there's been so much research and observation and study about the profound effect and influence that music can have on us. Stroke victims, they discovered that for some stroke victims, when they sing what they want to say, they can sing it
And sing it.
and say it, even though they can't speak it.
Well, and that makes sense too, because I know that people who stutter, like Mel Tillis, the famous country, well, I don't know if he's a country western singer, but I know country singer,
Yes.
but he stuttered when he spoke, and he would give interviews and things, but when he sang, the stutter was gone. And so it is interesting. I wonder, do you know, and if you don't, it's okay, but I'm wondering, is there something, I wonder, is there a difference between just hearing like a melody as opposed to hearing a melody with words? If you've read anything about that, if there is a difference in actual, songs versus just hearing melody lines and how the brain reacts.
Instrumental music works just as well.
Okay.
Um, I read a book a few months ago that I hadn't discovered when I was writing my book, because I have like 75 recommended readings in the appendix. I've read all of them and then some, but this one was a gentleman who had some very serious life-threatening episode, was taken to the hospital. This was in New York City. Should not have lived. I mean, he talks about the but when he did, and what brought him out of it was his wife began playing Bach. What he does now, he's a guitarist. He has, because he's obviously I'm now telling you he survived.
Yeah.
he has gone back to that hospital. I don't know if today he's still doing it, but at the time of writing his book, he was. And he plays for people in ICU, which is where he was. And it's only instrumental music. And for him in the ICU, critical care, right? You have the added dimension of he's watching the monitors. And if the monitors are going down, and they're supposed to go down, he knows that music is doing good by that patient. But if the monitors are going up and they're not supposed to be going up, then he knows he needs to change what he's playing. So what music is vibration, right? Sound vibrations.
That's true.
Aren't we vibration too?
Yes, we are.
So vibrations affect us, and vibrations that are synchronous are beneficial, right? Yep. And those that clash are not.
Exactly.
Are not.
Yeah.
We know that when we meet someone, right?
Yeah.
Right off. Right off. You know whether, and in my language, and I suspect in yours too, either your energy or your vibration picks up, and you say, okay, yes, this is going to be a good connection. This will be an easy connection, or don't think so. Great meeting you. See you again later.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting. And you're right. When you, thank you for pointing that out, reminding me that we are all vibration. And so our brains are moving, brain waves are oscillating at different rates. And so if we can, that's why they have like entrainment software and things like that are out there. So if you have music that can work to be able to connect with those parts of the brain too, it's amazing. And I've always loved music. I mean, I've sung since I was a little kid. My mom used to sing to me, and my favorite part of going to Girl Scout camp, frankly, was singing, or sitting around the campfire singing. And it's a wonderful way to communicate, and especially if you get certain songs and they have lyrics that really connect with you, and songs can trigger memories from years back. I mean, I still will hear when I hear like the song The Rose, I'm back in high
Vivid
school.
blur.
I'm
Yes.
back in high school dancing with this guy that I had a crush on. So it's so cool, but th let's get back to the really what you're doing with the threshold choir. So,
But
um,
and if I might jump
yeah,
in,
yeah.
excuse me, Gloria,
No, go
because
ahead.
I can pick up on that as well. You know, music takes us back, um, and it makes us feel the way we want to feel. I mean, another way to use music in life and at the bedside is it is an easier entry into having harder conversations.
Mm.
So, for example, and you mentioned memories. A couple months ago, I gave a presentation on end of life spirituality to a regional conference in upstate New York. And I used music to illustrate, you know, throughout life, some of us regularly review our life, if you
Mhm.
will,
Yeah.
right? And we say, okay, this has been good. This is where, right? Where am I going? Where do I want to go? Where am I being led to go?
Right.
But when we get to the end of life, and for me, that's a broad designation at this point, that the years in front of us are much fewer than the years behind us. And that
Yeah.
includes me. So, right, you start looking back,
Yeah.
and um, and you can use, how do I say this? If someone, if you're feeling that someone might be helped by talking about some things that they haven't talked a lot about,
Mm.
um, you can use music as the buffer.
Mm.
You know, put on the music that they enjoy, and then talk back and forth. Oh, maybe there's a line about music. Excuse me, memories or regrets. I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. Right.
Right,
So
right.
regrets. Oh, you know, you've had a great life, but do you think you have any regrets at the, so it can spark, it has the opportunity
Mm.
to spark some conversations that might not otherwise happen, and yet will be, yeah, really, really integral in in having some resolution.
Mm. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so that's another way. But yes, so
I
back
like
to
that. No.
threshold choirs.
Yeah, but that was good. No, I thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. That is good. I wanted to ask a little bit about, how does it help? Because, clearly we've talked about that it does help the person who is going through, who is ill or what have you. But how does, having a threshold choir, impact other family members who are there?
The vibrations of song flow out and surround everyone within the listening space. So I've seen family members who are and not paying attention to what's going on. Oh yeah, that's happening over in the bed. I'm over here. And you begin to sing, and the vibrations flow out, and you create a whole different atmosphere in the room.
Mm.
It's peaceful, it's calm, dare I say it is sacred, you know, and so the noise quiets and they get into this space too. You know, think of songs even as sung prayers,
Mm, that's right.
right? So you get internally, you get into a different space as well.
Mm.
And yes, so they are. they're comforting, they're consoling as well. They're reassuring, not only family, but caregivers and staff. I mean,
Mm.
I've been singing, for example, to this one woman at a vigil, and in our Berkshire Threshold Choir, our singers, we are also hospice volunteers.
Ah.
We have gone through all the hospice protocols and we're certified and all like that. Personally, I also hold a professional certificate as an end of life doula. So I have that layer as well to be there. Um, but so staff as well. This one staff member came in to check and then she went to the door and she stopped and she remained in the doorway until I finished singing. And when I finished, she said, that sure soothed my soul. And then she left, and continued on her rounds. I've had caregivers or staff cry. In one case, the staff said, this is a nurse who was at bedside saying, the words and the music are so beautiful. And in others, it happens like what you explained before in your experience, that you hear music and you're back in high school.
Mm.
And the particular song that was being sung at the time reminded them that, oh, that was sung at my dad's funeral.
Mm.
Or that was sung at my mom's funeral, or that was sung at the celebration of life, or whatever. And yeah, music really touches us deeply.
Yeah. Now, for those who are listening and are watching it and are maybe curious, I'll ask this for them because I know when we first talked, I was wondering about it. So, are the songs that you sing, are they typically like religious songs that people would have sung like in their, whatever faith they belong to, or can they be, just other like popular songs or something?
Threshold singing groups, which are local chapters, which ours is, Berkshire Threshold Choir is a local chapter of the National Threshold Choir International. We have access to the Threshold Choir songbooks.
Mm.
And these are more than 500 songs at this point
Mm.
that have often been written by threshold singers.
Oh.
And in fact, after I began singing, I started receiving songs.
Mm.
So those songs are non-denominational. They're about peace, they're about love, they're about grace, they're about rest.
Mm.
They're about being comforted. They're about, I let the river, the healing water, I let the river carry me home.
Mm.
Some are upbeat like that.
Yeah.
And then there are other kinds of course, tempo songs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not to say that when we are aware of someone's religious affiliation,
Mm-hmm.
that we pull out a song. I was singing at a nursing home, and that day it was in the hallway by the nurses station because that's where the individual was. And of course, all the folks sitting in their wheelchairs and with their walkers and whatever going by are also being serenaded, which is great.
Yeah.
And this one woman came by in her walker and she says, that lady over there would like you to come over and sing to her. I said, okay, fine. So I go over and say, hi, I'm Linda. I understand you'd like a song. And she said, yeah, when my dad died, we played The Old Rugged Cross.
Mm.
Do you know that? And I took a breath and I pulled most of it up from my memory. um, it's easier when people don't make specific requests.
Yeah.
But yes, but we will sing songs from their tradition. I think part of we want there is a notion that when we sing songs that are not familiar,
Mm.
it's easier for the person to release and move on.
Mm.
And they're all just so beautifully comforting and consoling and reassuring. Anyway, it's like,
Mhm.
oh, why? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yes. So we mix it up.
Yeah.
And again, okay, threshold. Well, as you may know, your listeners may know, you can be on hospice when you're still ambulatory and alert,
Mhm.
because you've perhaps just been diagnosed, and the understanding is, or the expectation is, that if this progresses the way it does, you will pass over in about 6 months.
Right.
So at that point, then you're not going to sing consoling dying
That's
songs,
true. Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
So you might sing Elvis if
Yeah.
that's what they want, or or folk songs,
Mhm.
or if they like country, pull
Yeah.
something out. You mentioned Mel Tillis and
Yeah.
country music. Uh, and then it's, and having said that, a person this day isn't necessarily in the same space into the next visit.
Mhm. That's
So
true.
we choose the music that seems, so let me edit my words, because I don't do that. I allow spirit each time I'm at a bedside. I sit in the quiet and I allow spirit to lead me to the next song. So, but yes, and so there can be popular songs, they can be religious songs from a particular tradition,
Mhm.
but always threshold
I
songs.
thought so. Yeah. And and I like that you mentioned that the threshold songs that they're not familiar with can be so powerful, and that it does allow them to release, and I can see how that can happen, because I think when you do hear something that is familiar, then it really is sort of connecting you now to a memory of maybe when you heard that song before, and so then they may be more focused on that, as opposed to just being able to let go and just, let nature take its course. If it's time for them to transition, then they're able to do it more easily when they're just listening to peaceful music that they've never heard before.
Mhm, mhm.
You I think you've alluded to this already, but what um normally I'll ask someone like what really gets you excited about the work you're doing, but I'll say, what what maybe drives you to continue to do this work? I'll ask it that way instead.
Ah, it's very. mm, mm. I'm a healer. That's one way to, and I won't go into all of that.
Well, you could if you wanted. It's okay.
I don't know that we have enough time, Gloria. That can be
Oh,
a whole other show. Okay.
okay. All right.
Okay.
We'll have to have you back.
There you go. I would look forward to that and welcome it. Thank you very much. Uh, I have seen okay. So in writing this book, I was looking backward, and what I was reminded of was an occurrence when I was an 18-year-old sophomore in college in New Jersey, and I was volunteering at a social services department of the county general hospital. And one day, and I still remember her name, June, said to me, "Here, Linda, here's a list of names. Go up on the wards and visit them." Like, okay. You know, there was no talk about this or who these people are or whatever. It was just
go.
in business we'd say it's a cold call.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely right. Wow.
The first bedside I went to was this older gentleman who's sort of listing off the side of his pillow. Nobody's around. I mean, these folks are like right out of sight, out of mind. Good grief. And and I don't, you can read it. I don't remember the whole of it. But what has always stayed with me, with the nugget in the middle, is after I probably said, "Hi, I'm Linda, and I just came up to say hello and see how you're doing," or I don't know what I said.
Right.
He looked at me and he said, "Well, I'm dying." Whoa, okay.
Mm.
And I was like that. Okay. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
Now what do I say? And I can see that from there all the way forward to where I am now has been a journey to be comfortable and to help others, show others how they can be comfortable at someone's bedside. So it's your presence. And I would say this to those of you listening: even if you can't carry a tune, right, you can play music. And if there's no music, even, what is most important? Your presence, your being there. When my oldest daughter, who just turned 40 this month, was maybe 2, I walked into a nursing home one day with her and I said, "Who doesn't get any visitors?" And I think that's it. I mean, I continue to see so many individuals, even if they're not dying, they now have an illness or a condition, whatever it is, that doesn't permit them to participate in the activities they normally did.
Yeah.
And how many of us may keep in contact for a while and then we don't anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Because they can't keep up with us, and so it's a visit, and it's a happy singing visit. With Yes, so we do sing songs as well. We also go into memory care units and sing, and "You Are My Sunshine." Everybody knows "You Are My Sunshine," or "Let Me Call You Sweetheart," or "It's a Wonderful World," maybe, or "This Little Light of Mine." I mean, things from, that people can participate. They get engaged. They get happy.
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
and toe tapping and hand clapping, and
Yeah.
it's and to be at someone's end of life journey is really a privilege. I mean, that's such an intimate spiritual experience, that I'm honored to be there.
Well, I know I appreciate what you're doing, and I wish I had known about this when my sister was going through her transition, but I know that we did actually have the stereo playing on her final night, and so she did have, playing some of the music that she liked, and um, I didn't think to sing to her. I wish I had, but it's okay. But she had her cat with her, and she had the
There you
music
go.
on, and I was
And
there.
she
I
had
was,
you there.
yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm
I was
saying.
right
Your
close by.
presence, your
Yeah,
presence, your
yeah,
presence.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Oh goodness. Um, I want to ask you this before we end here, because I know that there are, death is like, for some reason, nobody likes to talk about death. especially in Western culture. And
We need to talk about it, folks.
yeah, we do.
Guess what? Every single one of you, without exception,
Yeah,
will quote unquote die.
yeah, this body will cease. It will
There
at
you
some
go.
point. Yeah. So what's a commonly held belief about maybe dying or hospice or something like that that you disagree with?
Whoa.
Mm.
Oh, well, I think, okay, that's easy. That it's the end.
Ah. I like that. Yeah.
Curtains closed, lights out, over and out,
Mhm.
10-4, over and out. You know, yes. I was going to share something else about me, but that's fine. But to say that I talk to people who are in spirit.
Mhm.
You can too. Um, they're around us all the time.
Mhm.
You know, we most most all faith traditions except angels. I mean, why aren't we all angels when we go into spirit? I
Yeah.
mean, that's whatever, but to say that existence continues,
Mhm.
you know, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it'd be great if there were no one without song,
Mm.
and you can help spread the word about music at the bedside and about threshold choirs and threshold singing. Sometimes they're called bedside singers. Sometimes they're called hospice choirs.
Mm.
But we do a lot of the same kind of work at the bedside. If you'd like more information about that, just grab a hold of me at my website, www.thecourage2care, all one word, thecourage2care.com. And
Mhm.
you can also pick up a freebie, a free gift, 5 trusted ways to ease someone's dying. Music is one of them. I'll give you a hint,
Mhm.
but there are, yes. So
Good.
I
Yes.
love to hear from you. Yeah. And spread the word about music. Music.
Absolutely.
Add it to your day.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Add it to your day.
It makes such a difference. It
It
really
really
does.
does.
Yeah.
Music will make you feel however you want to feel. It's just a
Mhm.
matter of choosing the music you want.
Oh,
So why
that's
don't you
true.
put in the chat or no, the comments?
Yeah.
List one of your favorite pieces of music.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And you're right for the moods too, because there were some, well, again, I'll go back to when I was a teenager that life wasn't always happy. As you know, when you're a teenager, things happen and maybe even middle school. But I used to put on Barry Manilow and I love Barry Manilow, but also Barry Manilow can be good to help you cry.
Well, that's why I said
Yeah.
yes, if you need a pick me up, if you need a calm down,
Yeah.
if yes,
Yeah. It's
there is music
for
that will
anybody.
match your emotional and mental needs.
Mhm, yeah, and if you are not wanting to be depressed, then put on something happy, and,
That's right.
I love Pandora has, like, a happy channel or something, and so I listen to, like, the happy radio, and they will have songs like Happy from, oh, I forget the guy's name now, and, and all sorts of upbeat things because then I can be, jamming along in the car when I'm driving, and it's a good thing. Yeah.
Yes. Whenever I'm painting, I have to paint a room or something,
Mm,
do some kind of heavier
oh.
work. I always have music on. It's a great distraction too.
Oh, yeah, oh,
And while I'm
house
singing
cleaning.
along.
Yeah, yeah, I would definitely put on music when I'm house cleaning because that's not one of my favorite things to do. Oh, goodness. Thank you so much for being here today, Linda, and, I know you have enlightened our audience today, and I will make sure that I have all of your information will be in the show notes as well as the other resources that you shared as well. So if you're somewhere listening to this and you don't have a pen handy, go to liveloveengagepodcast.com and look for this episode and you'll be able to get all that information. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure. Bye, everyone. Go well and go safely. Go well and go safely. Go well and go safely. and love abide with you.
Mm. And also go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.
All right, Gloria.